There is a man sitting in a $14 million house in California. Outside his windows, the Santa Barbara hills are golden. His children are safe. His wife is building an empire. And yet, every morning he wakes up with a feeling that no amount of California's sunshine can burn away. Longing. The deep, unshakable longing of a man who is in exile from the only home he has ever truly known. Prince Harry has described himself using that exact word. Exile. Not refugee. Not expatriate. Exile. A person who cannot go back to where they belong. And in 2026, the question that is defining his life and threatening his marriage is whether that exile is about to end. Because something has changed. After years of legal battles, court losses, and bitter silence, Harry's security situation in the United Kingdom is on the verge of being resolved. Insiders are calling it a formality. Sources at the Home Office have told reporters that security is, in their words, nailed on for Harry. Which means the one barrier that stood between Harry and a real return to Britain is about to be removed. And Meghan's response to that development has not been joy. It has been fear. Not fear of Harry. Fear of Britain. Fear of reopening a chapter she has spent 4 years trying to close. And between his longing and her fear, between his desperate need to bring his children to their grandfather before it is too late, and her equally desperate need to protect herself from the institution that nearly destroyed her, a fault line has opened in the Sussex marriage that insiders say is the most serious this relationship has ever faced. Tonight we are telling the full, verified story of what is really happening, and why the decision Harry makes in the coming months may be the most consequential of his entire life. Welcome to Royal Report Daily, your #1 destination for real royal news, verified investigations, and the stories the palace doesn't want you to find. I'm your host, and if you are new here, subscribe right now and hit that notification bell, because what we cover on this channel, you will not find anywhere else. Every single week, we go deeper, we go further, and we go to places the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. Tonight is one of those nights. Let's get into it. Let's start with the news that set all of this in motion. For years, Harry's ability to bring his family back to Britain has been blocked by one practical reality: security. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties in 2020, they lost their government-funded police protection. Harry fought that decision in court. He lost. A London judge ruled in May 2025 that the government had the legal right to withdraw his automatic security detail. Harry told BBC News afterward that the decision was, in his own words, an establishment stitch-up. He said bringing his family to the UK without armed protection was, and again these are his words, impossible. He said, quote, "I cannot see a world in which I would bring my wife and children back to the UK at this point." For years, that sentence was the wall, the thing standing between Harry's two worlds. But in December 2025, The Sun reported that a formal review of Harry's security was underway by the UK government. Evidence had been collected. A decision was expected in January 2026. And then, just weeks later, the verdict began to leak. Sources at the Home Office told reporters the situation was looking positive. An insider close to Harry said, and these are the exact reported words, "It is now a formality. Security is nailed on for Harry." Mail on Sunday reported that Harry had been found to meet the criteria for security reinstatement. After years of legal battles, court hearings, and bitter public statements, Harry was about to win. And the moment that victory became clear, the entire dynamic of his life shifted. Because the wall was coming down. And the question that had been theoretical, should we go back to Britain, was suddenly, urgently, immediately real. If this investigation is giving you answers you have not found anywhere else, subscribe to Royal Report Daily right now. Because what comes next is the heart of this story. Here is something that has not been widely reported, but that changes everything about how you understand Harry's urgency. He made a promise. According to a source speaking to Star magazine in 2026, Harry promised King Charles directly that he would finally bring Archie and Lilibet to Britain. The source said, and I am quoting directly, Harry promised his dad that he will finally bring the kids. So that is high on the agenda. Think about the weight of that sentence. A son promising a cancer-fighting father that he will bring his grandchildren to see him. Not someday. Not eventually. A real promise. With real urgency behind it. Because the time pressure here is not abstract. King Charles is 77 years old. He has been fighting cancer since February 2024. Buckingham Palace confirmed his treatment moved into a precautionary phase in late 2025, a positive update, but not a declaration that the illness is gone. Charles has not seen Archie and Lilibet in person since the Platinum Jubilee in June 2022. That is over 4 years. Royal expert Hilary Fordwich described Charles's feelings precisely. She said Charles has always called Harry his dear boy. He has always had a soft spot for his second son, and he is longing to see his grandchildren. The word longing appears again, this time on both sides of the equation. A son longing for his country, a grandfather longing for his grandchildren, and a clock ticking in the background that neither of them can stop. Harry is not trying to go back to Britain for political reasons. He is not trying to stage a royal comeback or reclaim titles or score points against the palace. He is a man who is afraid his father is running out of time, and he wants his children to know their grandfather before that time runs out. Now let's talk about Meghan. Because her position in this story is not the villain's position. It is a human position, and it deserves to be understood honestly. Meghan Markle has not set foot in the United Kingdom since September 2022. That is nearly 4 years. She attended Queen Elizabeth's funeral alongside Harry, a brief, solemn visit, and she has not returned since. In 2025, Harry traveled to the UK multiple times for court hearings against Associated Newspapers, for the Wellchild Awards, for his High Court case, for a private meeting with Charles at Clarence House in September. Every one of those trips, Harry went alone, without Meghan, without their children, and sources close to Meghan explain why in very clear terms. A source told Radar Online that Meghan views Britain not as home, but as a chapter marked by hostility and intense scrutiny. A chapter she has spent 4 years processing, healing from, and moving past. Her instinct is to shield both herself and the children from experiences she worries could reopen painful chapters. The Oprah interview told us what those chapters contained. Feeling so unsupported inside the institution that she contemplated suicide. Being told there were concerns within the royal family about how dark her unborn baby's skin might be. Watching the tabloid press systematically attack her for years while the palace said nothing. These are not small wounds. These are serious, documented, life-altering experiences. And the idea of walking back into that environment, with cameras everywhere, with British tabloids waiting, with an institution that never fully protected her, is not a small ask for Meghan. It is an enormous one. GB News reported a source close to Meghan saying security will always be the deciding factor in whether she returns to the UK. But people close to the situation suggest security is not the only factor. The emotional cost of returning, the toll it would take on a woman who fought very hard to build a life away from all of it, that cost is real too. Like this video if this is the most honest coverage of this story you have found. And subscribe to Royal Report Daily, because what comes next is where the tension becomes impossible to ignore. Radar Online broke the story in January 2026, and the language their sources used was not careful or hedged. It was direct. The dispute over Britain has become, in their words, a deeply emotional fault line. Something that threatens to tear Harry and Meghan apart, geographically and emotionally. One source told them something that captures the entire dynamic in a single sentence. The tension between them is not rooted in a breakdown of affection or commitment. It is driven by two very different anxieties pulling them in opposite directions. Two different anxieties. Not hatred, not betrayal, not the kind of dramatic collapse that tabloids love to manufacture. Just two human beings who love each other and need different things. Harry's anxiety is about time running out, about a father who is ill, about a country that shaped him that he cannot fully return to, about two children who barely know their grandfather and who are growing up disconnected from half of their heritage. Meghan's anxiety is about reopening something that nearly broke her, about walking back into an environment that caused her genuine documented harm, about what returning to Britain would cost her personally and emotionally. And the source who spoke to She Knows in January 2026 framed Meghan's position with genuine empathy. Her instinct is to shield herself and the children from experiences she worries could reopen painful chapters. Harry, on the other hand, feels strongly that their children should grow up understanding where he comes from. And these two positions, both completely understandable, both coming from real love, are pointing in opposite directions. That is the fault line. Not a villain and a victim. Two people, two fears. one marriage caught between them. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, one of the most respected voices in this space, said something in 2026 that has stayed with royal watchers. He said, simply, directly, Harry is in exile. Exiles get very, very lonely. Absolutely. That word, lonely. It is not a word we associate easily with a man who has a wife, 2 children, and a $14 million estate in one of the most beautiful parts of California. But loneliness is not about being physically alone. It is about being separated from the place and the people that form your sense of self. Harry grew up in palaces. He served in the British Army, 2 tours of Afghanistan. He carried the Olympic torch. He was a working royal for decades. His entire identity was built in Britain and in California. However beautiful the life he has built there, he is disconnected from the roots of that identity in a way that Radar Online's sources describe as increasingly painful. An insider told the outlet that Harry has become increasingly fixated on the idea of being back in Britain more often. He brings it up repeatedly, conscious of his father's declining health, feeling that opportunities for reconciliation are slipping away. Stylecaster, citing Radar Online, reported that friends of the couple now have, quote, very real fears that the marriage will not survive and that the tension is getting worse all the time. That is not a tabloid fabrication. That is documented sourcing from people inside the Sussex circle, people who know them, people who care about them, and people who are watching with genuine concern as 2 very different needs push 2 people further apart. Do not go anywhere. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and turn on notifications, because the next section is about the trip that could change everything, and the children at the center of it all. Let us talk about Archie and Lilibet, because they are not just supporting characters in their parents' story. They are the most important reason everything else matters. Archie is 6 years old. He was last in the United Kingdom in June 2022, when he was 3. He attended Queen Elizabeth's Platinum Jubilee. He celebrated his sister Lilibet's first birthday at Frogmore Cottage with a backyard picnic. He was too young to understand what any of it meant. He has not been back since. Lilibet is 4 years old. She has British citizenship. Her name honors the late Queen and Princess Diana, and she has been to the United Kingdom exactly once in her entire life, for that same June 2022 Jubilee trip at less than 1 year old. She has no memory of it. These 2 children are the grandchildren of the King of England. They are the great-grandchildren of one of the most beloved monarchs in history, and they are growing up in California with no real, living, personal connection to the country, the family, and the history they were born into. Harry is acutely aware of this. A source told Star magazine that Harry's view is clear. He feels strongly that they need to make a big effort with Charles and make sure he gets time with Archie and Lilibet. The same source said Harry wants this UK trip to be the first of many trips back. Not a one-off, not a photo opportunity. The beginning of a real, sustained connection between his children and their British heritage. And royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams told GB News he believes it will happen. He said he is confident Meghan will also bring Archie and Lilibet. He said, will they see the king? Yes, I would suspect they will. The prospect of that meeting, a grandfather who has been fighting cancer, finally seeing his grandchildren after 4 years, is the most emotionally powerful element of this entire story. In 2027, the Invictus Games will be held in Birmingham, England. Harry's proudest achievement, the sporting event for wounded veterans that he founded and has built over a decade. It will be held in his home country for the first time. And this year, 2026, the 1-year countdown celebrations are set to take place, which means Harry will be in Britain for a significant, public, joyful occasion. The question is whether Meghan and the children will be beside him. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams told The Express that Meghan will almost certainly return. He said, if Harry came alone, it would spark further rumors of a marital split. Also, she has to pave the way for her appearance at Invictus next year. That is a practical, strategic argument. If Meghan does not appear at the countdown events in 2026, her absence at the actual Invictus Games in 2027 will look even more pointed. But beyond strategy, beyond brand management and optics, the Invictus question is a deeply personal one. Invictus is the event that best represents who Harry is at his core. Not the prince, not the exile, not the Sussex brand. The man who built something real for veterans who sacrificed everything. If Meghan cannot stand beside him for that, in his home country, at his proudest moment. What does that say about where they are? And if she can, if security is resolved, if she finds the courage to return to a country that hurt her, to stand beside her husband at the event that defines him, what does that say about the strength of what they have built together? The Birmingham Invictus is not just a sporting event. It is a test of this marriage. And the result of that test will tell us more than any insider quote ever could. Like this video right now. And subscribe to Royal Report Daily, because the final 2 stages of tonight's investigation answer the question that is on everyone's mind. Can they survive this? Before we go any further, it is important to be honest about something. Harry and Meghan have not separated. There is no divorce filing. Neither of them has confirmed any of the tension being reported by insiders. And Harry himself has addressed the divorce rumors directly. In December 2024, at the New York Times Dealbook Summit, host Andrew Ross Sorkin asked Harry directly about reports that he and Meghan were living separately, appearing at different events, and rumored to be divorcing. Harry's response was calm, slightly amused, and direct. He said, and I am paraphrasing his words, apparently we have bought or moved house 10 or 12 times. We have apparently divorced maybe 10 or 12 times as well. He was making the point that divorce rumors have followed him and Meghan for years. That the tabloid narrative of their imminent split has been a constant background noise since they left the royal family. And that most of it is speculation built on absence. On the fact that 2 busy people who are building separate professional identities are sometimes in different places at the same time. Both Harry and Meghan have repeatedly presented a united front in public. Their 8th anniversary posts in 2026 were warm. Their Australia trip was a joint appearance that looked comfortable and genuine. Whatever tensions exist behind closed doors, and sources suggest they are real, they have not broken the surface in any way that the couple has confirmed or acknowledged. The honest truth is this: we do not know exactly what is happening inside this marriage. What we do know is that the pressures on it are real, documented, and significant, and the choices being made right now will shape its future. So here is where everything lands. Harry is about to get his security back. The wall that has kept his family out of Britain for 4 years is coming down. He has promised his father he will bring the children. He wants Archie and Lilibet to know their grandfather before time runs out. He wants to go home, not permanently, not to reclaim a royal role, but to belong to 2 worlds instead of being locked out of one. And Meghan has to decide whether she can return to the country that nearly broke her, whether she can face the British press, the royal institution, the weight of everything she escaped, for the sake of her husband's healing and her children's connection to their heritage. Whether the love she has for Harry is strong enough to walk back through a door she worked very hard to close. That is not a small thing to ask of anyone. And yet, if she does not go, if Harry returns to Britain more and more and Meghan stays in California more and more, the geography of their separation becomes the reality of it. Royal expert Fitzwilliams put it plainly. If Harry came alone, it would spark further rumors of a marital split. Because in relationships, physical presence matters. Shared experience matters. Standing together in hard moments matters. The coming months, the security decision, the Invictus countdown, the question of whether Archie and Lilibet will finally see their grandfather, will answer a question that no insider and no expert can answer right now. What do Harry and Meghan want more? The separate lives they have been quietly building? Or the shared life they promised each other 8 years ago in that chapel at Windsor? That is the choice in front of them. And it is the most human, most painful, most real story in the royal world right now. I want to leave you with one image. King Charles, 77 years old, fighting cancer, sitting in Clarence House, the house where he has lived for years, where the walls know his history, where he has faced more than most people could bear. And somewhere in California, 2 small children are eating breakfast, playing in the garden, going to school, living their beautiful, sun-drenched life. They are his grandchildren, and he has not seen them in 4 years. That is not a political statement. That is not a royal controversy. That is a grandfather and his grandchildren separated by an ocean, a legal battle, a family rupture, and the impossible complexity of 2 adults trying to navigate the hardest decision of their lives. Whatever happens between Harry and Meghan, whatever they decide about Britain, about the future, about how much of each other's worlds they can share, that grandfather and those grandchildren deserve a chance to be in the same room before time makes the choice for them. That is the real story underneath all of this. Not the drama, not the fault lines, not the divorce rumors or the brand tensions or the legal battles. Just a family, broken, complicated, imperfect, human, trying to find its way back to each other. And a prince who is willing to risk everything, again, for the people he loves. We will be watching, honestly, carefully, and without flinching. This is Royal Report Daily. That is all for tonight's investigation on Royal Report Daily. If this video made you think, made you feel, or made you see this story differently, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, and it means everything to this channel. Subscribe if you have not already, and turn on notifications, because we post new investigations every week and you do not want to miss what is coming next. Share this video with one person who follows the royal story, because the more people who know the real truth, the better. I'm your host. This has been Royal Report Daily. Stay informed, stay royal, and I will see you in the next one. Security restored. Promise made. Children waiting. Subscribe to Royal Report Daily and be here when Harry finally brings them home.